Hello everybody, this is Tyler here once again from the Character Workshop, and I do apologize if you guys are going to be hearing a fan throughout this entire episode, but it's like summertime and it's like getting really hot over where I am, so my apologies in advance. So, today for It Came From England, we're going to be talking about another sitcom from the BBC. And seeing that I've previously talked about Blackadder in multiple videos, we're going to be taking a different route this time. We're still going to be in the 80s decade, however, this is going to be a completely different show than what we talked about before, and also, unlike Blackadder, which was on broadcasted on BBC One, this particular show that I'm talking about was actually broadcasted on BBC Two, so not on the main BBC channel, interestingly enough. So, and this sitcom only lasted for like 2 series and had a total of 12 episodes, and this particular show that I'm talking about, I'm sure some of you guys probably know about it. If not, well, today we're going to be talking about The Young Ones. So, The Young Ones was a British sitcom that was broadcast on the BBC Two between November 9th, 1982 and June 19th, 1984. And basically the series revolves around 4 dissimilar college students who basically live in a college dorm or a house, and like every episode has like various, plots happening per episode, and they often involve like anarchic offbeats and surreal humor. And let me tell you something, like watching this show, a lot of times I was always like, huh? What just happened? Because like they throw like so many gags at the wall in every episode, and just like they go by so quickly that there are a few of them that, you don't have enough time to react to them, and, that's basically The Young Ones in a nutshell, and, I might as well briefly talk about, the characters before I, get on to, some more specifics with the show. So, the first member of the main portion of the cast is Vivian, played by Adrian Edmondson, and I actually didn't know about this. Did they ever mention it on the show? But like I found out just by looking it up that apparently Vivian's last name is Bastard, but it's spelled B-A-S-T-E-R-D instead of like having 2 A's in there. I think that's really funny, and he says Bastard a lot on the show. But anyways, Vivian's character, he's basically like a punker and medical student, and also out of all the 4 characters, he's definitely the most violent and unruly. And besides Mike, who he doesn't really mess around with. The 2 characters he definitely messes around with a lot is both Rick and Neil, especially Rick, and they both get into like a lot of arguments and slapstick fights and, yelling at each other to the point where like both characters seem like very inseparable, like you can't tell the difference between the 2. But Vivian's definitely pretty, stands out amongst the group by having, orange, mohawk hair and, some bits on the side as well, and also 4 silver stars on his forehead. And yeah, Vivian is personally like my favorite character. He's the most fun, a lot of times like loud characters tend to be like really annoying, but like Vivian and Rick to a certain extent, which I'll get into in a little bit, are both kind of exceptions to this. But yeah, Vivian's hilarious, like I mentioned before, and obviously the majority of the slapstick jokes from the show comes from him. So I get a laugh out every time like he uses like, some sort of thing to like, hit himself with or hit other characters with, and he's really funny to look at. Honestly, like I could just watch the show with just Vivian alone. And the second main character is Rick, played by, well, Rick McGale. And he basically studies sociology and domestic sciences, and he's also in the show a self-proclaimed anarchist. And out of all the 4 of them, he's definitely the most critical towards all the members, especially towards Neil, and also occasionally Vivian, which obviously those 2 definitely, get into quite heated arguments amongst one another. And he also claims to be a vegetarian and a fan of Cliff Richard, and, always adapting to, like, different political beliefs, and, also whenever he believes in, something politically, it's always usually in his benefit to, as he tries to do so throughout the show. And, yeah, Rick's definitely, very interesting. I think, where the character shines the most with me is his facial expressions. Like, he has some of the funniest, like, face expressions. He's always very, like, bug-eyed, like, he has his eyes like this, and, makes really funny face expressions, and just like Vivian, he's also a pretty loud character as well, but not as loud. But yeah, Rick is also a really interesting character. I like him a lot. And then the third main character is Neil, played by Nigel Plenner, and he is a peace studies student and is also a hippie and pacifist. And out of all the characters, he definitely gets like the most like shit towards him. Basically, like literally almost everybody in the house like basically like makes fun of Neil in like one way or another, especially Rick, because of Neil's, you know, more pacifist, you know, tendencies. And also, he's really the only member of the house who like does all the chores, and you know, the other characters don't really acknowledge him too much unless, you know, they blame him for something going wrong. So a lot of times you do feel bad for Neil, but I mean, what else can you really do? But that's Neil's job in a nutshell. And then the fourth main character is Mike, the cool person, played by Christopher Ryan, which, just like Vivian's last name, I had no idea the cool person was Mike's last name. Mike is basically the cool, well-dressed, and generally respected member of the group. And he's usually the straight man and the leader in a lot of situations. And he often, you know, partakes in like businesses to benefit himself and the detriment of others as well. And he also, while everybody else like tends to fight with each other, like he tends to keep the others calm while, you know, during unforeseen issues and situations. And you know, he's not as, in my opinion, like Mike's not as entertaining as the other three characters in my opinion. I feel like he's probably the weakest of the four, but still fun to, you know, watch. And you know, I think, you know, him being the most normal of the group like kind of like benefits, you know, or at least like evens out like the weirdness of like the other three. Now there is a fifth main cast member, however he doesn't really play a character that's like, you know, consistent within every episode. He plays a variety of characters. The actor's named Alexei Sale, I believe is how you pronounce his name, correct me if I'm wrong, who plays like various eccentric supporting characters during the show. And one character he played on multiple occasions was the landlord of the four other characters, by the name of Jersey or Jeremy Bolwiski. And also like various family members of his show up as well, also played by him. And there was one instance, I believe it was at the first episode, where like, you know, Jersey was a fake Russian. Like he said he mainly uses a Russian accent just to like, you know, sound more sophisticated, which is interesting because I know a lot of like countries outside the UK tend to like, you know, say British accents are the most sophisticated, so it's interesting to see like another take on like what the British think that like is the most sophisticated accent besides their own, I guess. In addition to the four main characters plus the fifth main cast member who plays like a variety of characters, the show has had a variety of different like guest appearances, you know, throughout its 2-series run. And a lot of these actors would later go on to do like much bigger things in the world of the UK. Well, minus one exception, that is. Terry Jones, who is a member of Monty Python, made a guest appearance in one of the episodes. This also like features a lot of actors who would later go on to be on Blackadder, like Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, and Tony Robinson. And also, two other cast members who've made appearances on Young Ones also went on to be a part of Red Dwarf as well. Like Chris Berry, who played Rimmer on Red Dwarf, was in the show, and also Norman Lovitz, who played Holly, was in the final episode of Young Ones. So yeah, very interesting to find out, you know, find the various like, you know, guest stars throughout the series. And you know, I was surprised to find out how many I was able to spot, like, you know, during my first time watching it. So the next thing I want to bring up when it comes to the Young Ones is just the show's general location. The college dorm that the main characters live in is noticeably really filthy. I just think it's really interesting how, like, you know, they were able to make, like, everything around the set, like, so filthy and disgusting, you know. Apparently it's meant to be, like, a very, accurate depiction about, like, how college dorms are in real life, and, you know, trust me, you know, with being in college for the past 2 years, well, 4 years, actually, but, like, the last 2 years in particular, this is definitely hits home really a lot for me. I've had roommates who are about pretty much almost as messy as these guys on the show. So I guess the people who worked on the show were like very accurate to how college dorms are portrayed. So I don't think I really have too much else to say about the show, besides, you know, what I've, you know, brought up. I will say one thing about The Young Ones that's also kind of interesting to bring up. It was actually first broadcasted on MTV in America in 1985, and apparently it was a pretty, it was a cult success in, you know, in America, and apparently even Conan O'Brien stated that, like, this was one of his influences for his comedy during a Q&A at the Oxford Union. So yeah, I was kind of surprised to find out that the show kind of had like a bit of an audience in the US. And it wasn't just MTV that it aired on, it was also on networks like PBS, USA Network, Comedy Central. It was also, of course, on BBC America. Also, that wasn't the only influence that the Young Ones had on the US. Apparently, 3 of the cast members, I believe it was the ones who played Rick, Neil, and Mike, all came back to basically play 3 chimpanzee characters in the SpongeBob episode Chimps Ahoy, who obviously came to inspect Sandy and on her progress of her inventions. If anybody has seen that episode, which I'm sure you have, so I guess unintentionally for any SpongeBob fans out there, you guys have probably got introduced to the Young Ones thanks to that episode. One other major important thing that I forgot to bring up about the Young Ones is that every episode, like at some random point, has a music video parody, not music video parody, a actual music performance played by a real life band. And these bands include 9 Below Zero, Radical Posture, Madness showed up twice in the series, Dexy's Midnight Runners, Rig plus Panic, Motorhead, Ken Bishop's Nice 12, The Damned, Emma Zulu, and John Otway. So, yeah. Also, I looked up about information about the Young Ones on MTV, and it said it's like the first like non-music program to appear on, you know, MTV. But I'm like, is it really though? Because almost every episode has a musical guest. So like, I mean, it's still got music in there, but it's like not the main focus, I guess. So maybe that's what they're talking about. I don't know. And at this point, I don't really think I have much else to say about the Young Ones. I know some of you are gonna be like, how come you didn't talk about like each individual episode or talk about, you know, the actual humor of it? Well, I feel like it's one of those situations where you're gonna have to like watch it for yourself to like kind of figure out what this show's all about, because like I said before, it's very absurd. A lot of like, you know, farce in there. Like I know farce is like one of the main subjects of the Young Ones, which farce, for anybody who isn't aware of that term, means it's comedy that seeks to entertain an audience through like situations that are highly exaggerated, ridiculous, or absurd, and that's kind of what the Young Ones is in particular. And like I said, a lot of random stuff. It's crazy. It's one of the craziest sitcoms I've ever watched. And definitely, I heavily recommend it just for like how absurd it is. Do I think it's better than Blackadder? I personally would say it's not, but that's mostly because this series only had 12 episodes, whereas Blackadder had 24. Now, another thing I gotta bring up before I start to end things off here, the final episode of the series, which was called Summer Holiday, actually featured at the very end where like, basically all 4 of the cast members were trying to steal a bank, or rob a bank, should I say, and they kind of like, you know, were trying to get away with the money, and Vivian's car ended up breaking in the process. However, Rick managed to like steal a double-decker bus, and, you know, all 4 characters, you know, were driving, you know, being all free and stuff. And then the very end, like, has Vivian and all of them, like, accidentally crash into, like, a billboard that has them falling off a cliff, and then the double-decker bus just, like, being destroyed. And, you know, it's safe to assume that they're all dead. Like, I feel like, I've mentioned multiple times how Blackadder has, like, endings that, like, ended up having all the characters die, and, like, the Young Ones, I guess, was no different. And, you know, I think the Young Ones was probably more, dark than, Blackadder did. So, like, I was very surprised when I found that out. I'm like, holy shit, everybody's dead. Like, I don't know how they could survive something like that, but, like, wow, I'm very shocked. But yeah, Young Ones is great. Definitely watch it for yourself. Not sure what streaming services it's on. I know it's on BBC iPlayer. Not sure if it's on anything else. I think iTunes also has it available, but if you're like me and somebody who loves physical media, last year the BBC actually released the entire series on Blu-ray in this complete collection box set in honor of the 40th anniversary, which was last year. And this box set features all 12 episodes uncut and has a load of new extra features. And yeah, definitely get it. This is a UK Blu-ray, by the way, so you're gonna have to, like, you know, import this. And one other thing I gotta mention, and this thing's really bizarre for one thing, not just for the show itself, but like, this Blu-ray box set is region locked. Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know what this is, what that means, it means this Blu-ray won't be able to play on any American Blu-ray, so you're gonna have to get a region-free Blu-ray player in order to watch this, if you're outside the UK, that is, which is really weird because, like, Blu-rays for the most part are usually region-free. Like, I don't see very many, like, region-locked Blu-rays. Region-locked DVDs, on the other hand, are a lot more common, so that's just really bizarre for me, especially since, you know, I mean, this wasn't, like, the BBC has released, like, you know, region B Blu-rays that are, like, you know, region-free, like these Doctor Who collection boxes I have, they're region-free, they can play on any American Blu-ray player. Red Dwarf Series 1 through 8, that was released on Blu-ray in the UK. Those are able to play on US Blu-ray players. So it's really weird that this series in particular is not region-free when it comes to its Blu-ray box set, so yeah, if you're going to be picking this up, if you're not in the UK, definitely get a region-free Blu-ray player in order to be able to watch it, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, that's probably like the best way to watch it on physical media. And especially in upscaled high definition, so yeah, that's really all I gotta say about the Young Ones. Definitely an interesting show, really funny, really bizarre. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever gonna see anything more bizarre than that, so yeah, Young Ones gets a thumbs up from me. So, that's about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more episodes of It Came From England, or just mediocre plush content in general. Also, be sure to turn on the notification bell so you get notified each time I upload a new episode of It Came From England or any of my other shows. And leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. That is about it. This is Tyler from the Character Workshop, signing out. Next time, we are going back into the world of Doctor Who, and we're talking about a story that's, you know, I would say a bit too ambitious for its own good. Excuse me, Young Ones. Alright, we're gonna have to, you know, use you again. Young Ones.